Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to the breakdown. Today we got four guests on the show. Man, this is gonna be fire, everybody. We got Jose, Rose, Candejah, and Richard. Now, Rose and Candejah, the Springfield 101 Leaves. Candejah also always doing something. So she's bringing on Richard from what is it? Angels,
Chess Angels Promotion Inc.
Test, Test Angels Promotions Inc. And Jose, what organization are you with?
I organize with Western Mass, BIPOC, Advocacy Council, and Northampton Abolition Now.
Woo! Now we are gonna have some serious conversations. Now I got to chop it up with the girls yesterday. Hopefully they bring that same fire that we were having on the conversations last night when it came to housing, code enforcement, how it affects our city, gentrification, all the stuff that's in between. So we know that in the city of Springfield, we have a huge housing crisis. We have gentrification that is kicking our butts. We got code enforcement problems. We have the abuse of code enforcement in some sort of ways. We also have the problems with housing court, the good and the bad with housing court, the good and the bad with code enforcement, um, and just everything in between, homelessness, and man, we're gonna bring it on. So I'm gonna bring Rose on first and let her list of bio that she finally sent me, and I'm like, yo, I'm just gonna let her because that thing is long. Go ahead, get off.
All right. So, well, first we'll talk about Springfield Noone Leaves. So, Springfield Noone Leaves is a member-led community organization that organizes homeowners fighting foreclosure and tenants to build power in the community for housing to be a human right and not a commodity to profit off of. So we organize for more community control over land and housing, whether that be with land trusts or as, tenants buying their buildings as cooperatives where they'll own their unit and the other people that live in the buildings will also own theirs. My bio, so I joined Springfield Noone Leaves in 2011 when the bank foreclosed on my home, and then came on staff as an independent contractor in 2012 to organize the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac fighters from Springfield to mobilize to actions in New York City and Washington, D.C. And then in 2015, I came on as the junior organizer. In 2016, the members took over the organization. And then in 2017, I won back my house and became the program coordinator of Springfield Noone Leaves.
Woo! There we go. Now let's kick it off with Jose. Tell us your bio.
I was born in Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico, and my mother and I came here when I was young. We were abused by the drug war. A bunch of people in my family were arrested for trafficking narcotics, and then we were kind of on our own. So I got to experience what it was like to, kind of be put out there and abandoned, kind of been separated by the U.S. government. And so, I organize for people who are houseless and people who are on the street, people who might, most of the people that I know aren't personally afflicted by substance abuse issues, but I advocate for people with substance abuse issues, and I am an abolitionist. And I work hard to drive the point through that we're never going to have justice in our communities as long as we have police and as long as they're putting people in prisons ever. So that's my first point above everything else, is that like what we have to prioritize is getting rid of the police and getting it to a point where our communities protect themselves. We don't need no cops. We're not going to be killing each other's kids when we're trying to keep each other safe, for sure. So that's the most of the work that I do.
Now, just briefly explain to our viewers what abolitionist means.
Abolition means basically I'm organizing against everything that colonizers have brought here, white supremacist settlers that have taken the land from the indigenous people and brought Africans over and traded them as slaves, have enslaved Native Americans. They have criminalized drug use. They have criminalized mental illness to a point where they can separate whoever's family they want whenever they want for almost any reason. They criminalize every form of resistance that we come up with as a BIPOC communities. So we need access to water rights. We need access to transformative justice. We need to be in charge of what transformative justice means in our communities, and we need to get rid of their police stations. All that they do is hurt our communities. All that they do is shoot us in the street or push our kids into the streets by accident or whatever. But all that they do is over police us and execute us. And I'm telling you right now that a well-disciplined, well-armed community, we're not going out there scared of each other's kids shooting at them. We're just not. So we need community defense. We need community security. And that does not mean cops. That means a well-armed populace that knows each other. And we need, to build on that sort of infrastructure. And not only that, but abolitionist means we need the rights to our water, to our environment. We need to be able to regulate what corporations produce what around us. We need to be able to regulate what justice means, and we need to be in charge of what prison means, what resources are assigned to prisons, and what transparency is assigned to them. So that means us, not them, that they keep separating our families and killing us with no-knock warrants. We need to be in charge. And until that happens, we're never, ever going to get a sliver of equity or equality.
Thank you for that. Woo, that's a mouthful. All right. Now bring on Candejah. Let's go.
Okay, well, as you know, my name is Candejah Pink, and I've done a lot, but I started out with Springfield Noone Leaves as a person that lost her home due to foreclosure and wanted back paid in full by 2014. But I've been since day one with Springfield Noone Leaves, 2010. And I branched off, and I also had started because I'm known to be the chanter, the people person. So I branched off and I started being a co-founder of the Chess Angels promotion, which is about sharing what's going on in your community, in your environment through the arts, whatever your talent is. So, and that, a lot of things came forth with that, where I got to learn how other people, through the other people's eyes, of how they're feeling, how they're handling it. And that's something that we need to put out so that we can let people know that they're not alone. So no matter what you're going through, you can actually share it so that people can tell you that, yeah, we're going through this and this is how we're coping, and let's see how you're coping with it and see if we can come together and build a strong force to push back who is the oppressor, basically, bottom line. That makes sense?
That makes perfect sense. So let's get on in it. Let's talk about housing in the city of Springfield. What are you working on now for the city of Springfield when it comes to housing?
So right now, we actually just sent out 91 CDC affidavits to tenants who are in immediate danger of being evicted since Governor Baker lifted the eviction foreclosure moratorium. So we have that. We also work with homeowners that fell behind on their mortgage. So we have that campaign, and then we have the receivership issues that many in our community face. And dealing with and teaching them how to navigate housing court, right? Because courts are not set up for people, for normal people to navigate. They're set up for lawyers. So we empower people to teach them how to navigate that system without paying an arm and a leg for an attorney. And we're very lucky that we have 12 volunteer attorneys who work directly with us, and they take their lead from us. They don't tell us what it is that we should be doing. We tell them what we're hearing from the community members, and they take their lead from us. So in a nutshell, that's a little touch of what we're working on right now.
Nice. Now, explain to people. I'm pretty sure a lot of people don't know what receivership is in the city of Springfield. Explain what receivership is.
So a little back history. So the receiver program actually came out of the Great Depression, and was a tool to help with vacant, abandoned properties. So when the foreclosure crisis hit, Judge Fine and resident in Springfield was really the pilot program for the receivership program. They implemented that law, and it was initially meant just specifically for vacant, abandoned, bank-owned properties. And then as people began to continue to occupy their properties after foreclosure, as Springfield Noone Leaves was teaching people to do, there was less and less vacant properties. So then they started targeting communities and low income people with code violations. So historically, if you look at what's been happening, if you are in a neighborhood that gets CDBG funds, then most likely code enforcement is riding around your neighborhood looking to nail a fine on your property. And when you cannot pay these fines and you cannot afford to fix your property, then you face a receiver being placed on your property. And that receiver gets a lien that's higher than the bank's lien. So if you have a mortgage, their lien is better than your mortgage holder, and the person that you pay to. So we know in the research that we've done that homeowners who get entered into this program, only 2% of those homeowners actually are able to satisfy that lien and get to keep their property. The rest actually get auctioned off, and 9 out of 10 times, it is the receiver who buys the property at auction and puts it into the speculative market, and now becomes a rental property for them.
Now, is that basically for properties that go into tax title?
So that's any property in the city of Springfield. And now it has launched across the state. And so Maura Healy is on board with this. And it has launched and has gone and branched from Springfield, which was the pilot program, into Chicopee, Holyoke, all the cities in Western Mass and across the state. But it is most predominantly used here in Western Mass.
So what is CBDG funds? What is that?
So those are community block development grants. So I'm sure Daryl could probably explain this to me. I don't get into the specifics of that. My concern is making sure that people are able to keep their properties in the city.
Let me ask you this. About on average, how many people do you think lose their property to receivership? And typically we say receivership, are those properties that the city will take control of and then they bring it to the court, or is it just something? How does that typically work?
So how it works is the city comes by and they deliver you a fine, and then you don't pay the fine. or you pay the fine and you don't fix the code violation. So
Yep.
then they come again and they give
Yep.
you another fine.
Yep.
And after 3 times of doing that, the city hauls you into housing court, which pre-COVID times was Mondays and Fridays.
Yep.
And so when you're in that process, they require you to do a rehab plan, right? But nobody tells you how to do a rehab plan. And all this time, you're continuing to get fined every time that code violation is not fixed and code enforcement drives by your house.
Rose, and typically it's not for something different. If there's a problem, they see shingles or something with your roof, they'll keep finding you for the same code violation, correct?
Exactly. It's the same exact fine over and over and over again.
Let me ask you a question. How many people have you talked to who have had developers, realtors knocking on their door as code enforcement is still sending them fines before it actually hits receivership?
So I can't say that we specifically track that. I can tell you if you are in foreclosure, that is all public information. So the minute you are behind on your mortgage, you are going to start having realtors solicit you to buy your house. So again, mass courts is a public forum. Anybody can go in. So I'm sure there's lots of speculators that are out there targeting low-income homeowners with the whole goal of actually just wanting their property.
Well, I only asked the question because during my tenure with City Hall, we've had individuals whose properties were in the process, they in the process of going through tax title and or receivership, and they would have people coming by inquiring about their property. Now that's not public if it hasn't hit the courts yet, correct?
So tax title is because the registry of deeds is anybody can access that and just dial in by property.
Got you. Okay.
So tax title is absolutely public information. And there are people that just specifically just keep, typing in different addresses, especially if they're interested. And the one thing that I will say about the receiver program, we actually had an entire class from Mount Holyoke spent an entire semester pulling all the data on the receiver program. And believe it or not, it is actually following the old redlining map.
Can you say that one more time?
Right.
It is following the redlining map.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
So which means that it is mainly targeted, which we know it's the Black and brown communities that are targeted by code enforcement, right? I happen to actually live in 16 acres east, and my neighbor could have a tarp on their roof for an entire year. Unless somebody calls code enforcement, they're not driving around 16 acres looking for people with a tarp on the roof the way that they do in the more predominantly Black or brown sections.
Mm-hmm. Or like they do the unregistered motor vehicles and people's yards in certain districts and certain zip codes. Your code enforcement is driving by your car talking about you got to register that. But if you're in a different zip code in the city of Springfield, you can have an unregistered car in your driveway 4 or 5 years and not even have to worry.
And again, I bet you'll find that those neighborhoods get CDBG funds.
They probably let Richard Neal build a pyramid in his backyard.
Let me ask you a question, I guess, to you and Candejah and Jose, if you're also familiar with that. If you find that your property is in jeopardy, what's the process? What should people do? What should their reaction be? Full disclosure, a couple of years ago, I was in that boat and I got a call from Miss Pink. Did you know? I was like, yeah, I kind of knew, but did you know what was happening? Well, I didn't know that much. So it was kind of like when the action mode, you guys kind of walked me through the process. So for all of our viewers, please note that this happens to everybody and nobody's excluded.
Yeah, nobody's excluded. And call us. We will walk you through the process. I actually have from the city of Springfield's attorney what they expect to see in a rehab plan. Okay. So we can absolutely help you fill that out to have a comprehensive rehab plan if you are faced with code enforcement. And, same thing with, and I want to put this out there to anybody who has a hearing in housing court. do not do your Zoom hearing in your home. It is not a good look to invite the court into your house. Call us. We will open up our office for you to make sure you have access to technology to be able to attend your Zoom hearing. You could be in court for a whole entire reason, and you happen to pass over a marijuana pipe, which, as we know, is legal here, but you pass over it in your court case because they want to see the sink that you're saying is backed up, then you got a whole slew of other issues on your hand. You do not invite the court into your home.
Wow.
Okay, didn't know that. And for all of our viewers, sorry, Yolanda, that just woke me up. Listen, I'm gonna repeat it one more time, and if I get it correct, Rose, y'all correct me. If you have a Zoom hearing for housing court, you do not invite the government into your home. Make the phone call to Springfield Noone Leaves. They will assist you. So for the folks out there, I mean, we all know people who are in trouble periodically around their homes and trying to figure out what to do. For me, it was happy. I went to one of the sessions you guys had up on Sumner Ave, and I seen all the people. I know everybody thought I was a spy for the government. I was trying to save my house. So I'm just saying, it's kind of like it's really good stuff. And so, how long has Springfield Noone Leaves been around? How long have you guys been around?
So in next week we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Yes. So we, for an organization that they said would never make it, we are about to celebrate our 10-year anniversary next week. The great thing about Noone Leaves is everybody who is on staff.
November.
Everybody who is on staff has been through either eviction, foreclosure, receivership issues. So we live this. We know what it's like. I fought an eviction for 6 years. Candejah fought her eviction for 4 years. So we know the mental health issues that come along with that. Right. And we know the pattern of punishment that also comes with it if you are evicted and you happen to tell somebody that you stayed a night in the ER or you stayed, in your car and then DCF gets called in.
Absolutely.
So there is a pattern of punishment that continues to happen within this colonized system. And the funny thing is to even bring it to the elections, right? I grew up, my family is from upstate New York. They grew up, my father is a full-blooded Oneida Nation member who grew up on the Onondaga Reservation, right? So this past summer, you saw Trump yank the Wampanoags lands out of trust, right?
Yep.
And then you saw Joe Biden issue a statement of fact, right? But what people don't understand, right, is that the federal government holds reservation lands in trust. So basically, all his statement said was, I will be a better landlord than Donald Trump was, right? Because natives are still savages in this country, and God forbid we have control over our land. We need the federal government because otherwise those lands will go back to wilderness, right? So Democrats, Republicans, they still uphold the same old system of white supremacy. Some are just a little slicker than others.
Absolutely.
So how would people go about contacting you at Springfield Noone Leaves?
So you can call us at 413-342-1804 or text us. We do text, and you can email us at info@springfieldnooneleaves.org.
At what point should someone, I'm sorry, Yolanda, I'll keep jumping in. Go ahead. Go ahead, Yolanda.
No, I was saying thank you.
Oh, okay. At what point should people contact you? At what stage should I say, oh God, I seen Rose Webster Smith on the live. I need to give her a call. I'm nervous. At what point should I contact you?
If you know you're struggling to pay your mortgage, call us. If you know you're struggling to pay your rent, call us. If you see you are being targeted by code enforcement, call us. This crap is real with the receiver program, and it's done in housing court, and it gets put into the registry of deeds. Call us.
Okay.
We will do our darndest. We have many members who are carpenters, electricians, right? We are building a community within a community, right? Because we know in the end, it's not going to be presidents or senators or representatives or city councilors that are going to save us. It's our community members who are going to rise up to protect the community.
Absolutely.
So call us, text
Right.
us, reach out if you know
So
you're
please,
happy.
no, you
Go ahead, Candejah.
Rose, please remember to specify that when you call, a lot of calls come in and you get the voice message. Some people don't like leaving messages. They will not know that you called if you did not leave a message. And oh, you can text as well if it's easier for you. So you can call or text that number and somebody will get back to you. And there's no stupid questions. All questions are valid because you don't know. And the only way to know is to find out is the only way you're going to know. So please do not be scared to ask any questions, especially when it comes to you and your well-being under your roof. You about to lose your home, please call and leave a message.
And I can tell you firsthand, when you walk through the door, everybody treats you like a human. There's no one looking at you. So take your ego, check it at the door, walk
Right.
through, set your pride aside, and say, "My name is Johnny X. I'm here. My house is in jeopardy. What do I need to do? Who can I talk to?"
That's
And I think that's the biggest part sometimes. Just getting back to pride.
That's right.
Yep. So that's what's up.
Now,
And it's
Candejah, we got you on. Tell us
Mhm.
what you're seeing. You know, what are you hearing in the community, especially in Ward 4? Like, what are you hearing? What are you seeing?
But well, what am I seeing? My concern is about all of these boarded up houses. I drove by, especially on St. James, close to State Street, I think it is, by Magazine Park, right across the street from Magazine Park. There's like 3 houses that are boarded up. One out of those 3 houses, I know personally, I knocked on that door to tell them that we was here to give support to help them save their house. And it bothers me to see that this house is boarded up because they didn't
Boarded
have any.
people are living in there?
I'm sorry?
Boarded people are living in there?
No, it's not. They're not
No.
living there anymore. That means that they gave up. They didn't want to do the fight. This was like a couple of years back. And just recently, I just drove past it. Like, I couldn't believe that 3 houses right next door to each other, right across from Magazine Park. I mean, like, what does that tell you, right? I mean, I know that the COVID is out there, not too many people's in the park and winter's there, but we got to see this when we go to the park. I mean, it's gloomy to just see that we're not standing for the fight, and these banks are taking over these houses, and then they just let them sit. You're not trying to resell them, although we want you to work with the family instead, but you're not trying to do anything for our neighborhood. You just want to board it up and just let it sit there and collect whatever it is that they do, whatever their motive is. And that really bothers me a lot. And that's why I'm telling people, please, we all went through it. We like Rose said, we're not just a company that just read the book and then we want to help you. No, we're living it and we're going to live it with you, and it does take time and you have to be patient. Like Rose said, she did 5 years. Some people did 6 years, but they never left their home and they stood their ground. And that's all it takes is just stand in your grounds. And you leave when you want to leave. If you want to stay and fight, but don't leave on their terms. You leave on your terms.
Don't never turn in them keys until you're ready to turn in the keys. That's right.
All right.
They can pay you. So those homes are still vacant, right? Because they're waiting to capitalize the most for their dollar. And especially when it comes to foreclosure, people don't realize that the day you closed on your house, the bank took out an insurance policy for the entire amount of your loan.
What?
And the day they foreclosed, not only did they get all your money, now they get to collect on that policy, and then they get to sell it to someone else. If you're gonna leave, make them pay you, and not this $3,000 crap. Make them pay you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
Yes. Yes.
Make them pay.
How to-
It is petty cash to them. They spend millions of dollars on PR. The last thing they want to do is see you go public. So they will pay you that money to shut you up.
Yes.
Like, do not take that $3,000. It is nothing. Nothing.
Wow.
You have to see it like this. When you go to the store to buy something, you want to return it. You want your money back when you return the product. When you buy a house, that's not how it works. So, like Rose said, we have to keep watching that same movie over and over again. That documentation about the foreclosure. And the thing is like she said, they take out insurance the moment you sign the papers of the purchase on this house. So if you paid $100,000, if you purchased the house for $100,000, they're going to get that money the moment you foreclose. They're going to get that money automatically, whether they auction it or not. So it's not a big deal. They get that money.
Triple and
I'm sorry.
One at a time. Otherwise, it'll garble up. Go ahead, Yolanda.
I said, so once your house goes into foreclosure, they're already paid that money. So when they kick you out and resell the house, they're just getting money on top of the money that they already received.
Yes, and you're not even adding the fact that when you pay your mortgage, so if your mortgage is $1,000, if you actually read the breakdown, the interest is about $900 and $100 go to principal. So they got all this interest money while they flying on their jets, paying their children college and college tuition. You're paying for the college tuition. You're paying for everything while you're trying to get a free college for your own children. You're trying to keep a roof over your head. You're working hours after hours, and after all tax money is taken away, you got little to nothing, and they taking everything from you, your years of experience in your house, and then they turn around and they get the money anyway, and they got the nerve to get bailed out. Rose know that. Don't get me started, and that's the reason why I stood and I fought, because you're not getting my house and the money I spent on it too. No, you should have told me to put out insurance in case you foreclosed on my house so I could get my money back.
Right.
All right, go for it. You already know.
Yeah, so the day that the foreclosure auction happens, they put in a claim with the insurance company and they get paid the entire amount of the loan. Now, if we go back to the people that were foreclosed on who had predatory loans, now they were sliced and diced. Some of those banks got paid 5-6 times.
Yep.
And then got to sell it again.
Wow. And that was legal.
And it was legal. It's still legal today. Predatory loans are back. Be very careful. In 2016, Trump rolled back Dodd-Frank. He rolled back the tiny amount of regulations that were put in place, and he rolled them back. Steve Mnuchin, who is the Secretary of the Treasury, was the CEO of One West Bank, which was the top foreclosing bank on our active duty military who were overseas, and he foreclosed on them while over here, knowing that they were activated. And he had, I don't even know how many lawsuits. And again, that One West comes out of California. Where's Kamala Harris? Okay, so there all of it ties in. Like, don't think because Trump wasn't a politician that he ain't part of that 1%, that he does not pay lobbyists to secure his interests. He's always been a part of the establishment. He just didn't have the politician title.
So let me ask you guys, say Trump wins another 4 years. How does that impact us? How does that impact the work that all three of you do?
I really don't think it changes that much right now for me. Right now, honestly, Biden, he was about to give more money to police anyways. That was going to be a new problem for me tomorrow, right? But like Trump, he's just racist, right? And, he's allowed us to be able to see that we have racist caravans around and like we still have that problem to deal with. Yeah.
They're both racist, but go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry. You're so right. But Biden is like super great at trying a little bit harder, tiny bit to hide it. And Trump is just like, doesn't care at all. Trump just doesn't care, you know, and he's actually calling on that support and encouraging them to show up on the street. So like, I don't think it changes that much. I voted for Biden because I think that he's less of a problem for me overall. But like, I don't think that, I think that we need to keep organizing on the street. The things that we need to do are the same. Foreclosures are a form of state violence. The fact that we're not viewing them as such is just something that we just need to catch up to that outlook. You know, they are state violence, just like when they patrol our neighborhoods looking for faults in our houses. That is state violence. They don't do that to white people. Okay, they don't do that in Northampton, looking at people's houses. Oh, sir, this is slightly out of code, or your cherry tree is a little too close to the road. They don't do that. They only pull minorities over in Northampton. Okay, they're not looking at people's houses. Okay, they're looking at our houses to see what we're doing. The best form in which the U.S. government operates, the most money that they put in is to look at our houses to see if there's faults, to look inside at our activities about what we're doing to see if they can take our kids away, separate our families, or arrest us. They want to see if they can execute a no-knock warrant, and they want to seize our property. Okay, that's what foreclosures are all about: seizing our property and selling it off. There's more money on the other side. Okay, they invest more money into policing us, and then there's a payout when they take our stuff and when they take our kids.
When you say they, are you referring to the U.S. government?
I'm referring to the U.S. government. People, and most of the people that get minority children are white. So the people that apply to receive our children in foster homes and as adoption, they're white, and they're, instead of paying us so that we can stabilize our household and get health care, they're paying white people on the other side to take our kids, to adopt us. And they're investing in surveilling us to the point that they can at any point execute a no-knock warrant, search through our house, and separate us for whatever reason. You know, oh, we saw this guy smoking weed or something. That's been a lot of separation in families. You know, it just got legalized, but there's still families in this state that were separated because of weed.
Okay. So let me ask you guys a question with Springfield Noone Leaves. Then I want to talk about Chess Angels real quick. Have you guys encountered, when you're dealing with code, well, do you guys deal with code enforcement a lot? I think you said, yeah, correct?
So we deal with code enforcement in the housing court. A lot of our members they understand the system. They know to be scared of the receivership program. They've heard of it, they know about it, so they'll call us. And luckily, as a white passing indigenous person, I have been able to, I have a lot of power as an advocate with the Volunteers for Justice program with Community Legal Aid. So I know all these people in the court. Gotcha. So I am able to help them navigate a system. And I also had a volunteer attorney who took my case, who made sure that I understood every single step of the eviction process. Okay. So, a lot of it is really just going with people, having conversations, educating them, right? Knowledge is power. Teach one, teach one. We don't all know it all, but a lot of us together, collectively, we sure know a huge amount of knowledge.
Well, we're making a commitment to make sure that people have access to all this knowledge, trying to create platforms so we can get this information out. Quick note for folks: code enforcement knocks on your door. If Dave Cotter and crew comes to your door and they have the police and everything, you don't necessarily have to let code in. Typically, they'll fast track it, and they'll come with a full barrage of police and everybody else. That's typically the police department's way of getting into your home to see what's in there. They can't go into your home legally without a warrant, but they'll follow in behind, the code enforcement crew. So just be really careful of that before you open your door and allow them in. Be very careful. I forgot what they call it when they bring the whole battalion out to your home for a minor code enforcement infraction. So just be careful about that. When you see them knock on the door, just call down to City Hall and say, listen, I'd like to schedule another appointment for them to come through, but they're not coming in with the police department.
Absolutely.
People see
And
an
if
officer.
you have a problem with David Carter, make sure that you email him and everybody else, including housing attorneys, put them out there. I even had to do it so the bullying would stop.
Right.
So
and you know what? If you're dealing with tax title, and just a quick point to everybody, if you're dealing with tax title in the treasurer's office, you don't just email. I forgot the name of the service that they send you to. You want to email any and everybody. Put 500 people on that email. If it feels as if they're about to take your house through tax title and they haven't given you an opportunity to make a payment plan or whatever the case may be, you email everybody, including the media, if you have to.
Absolutely.
Just email people. Some folks come down, don't pick up the phone and try and deal with it over the phone. You want to make sure everything is timestamped. Emails are critical. When people used to call the office when I was there, I'm like, no, you send an email. You do not pick up the phone again. Because I can tell you anything, and when you come back, I can tell you, don't worry about your house, you're good. Until they tell you that they're changing the locks on your doors. You want everything via email, and again, email everybody. Don't blind copy. CC as many people as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
And
cousins if you have to.
And to add to that, so that a lot of people don't understand, when you are behind on your property taxes, do whatever you can to make a payment arrangement. Once you make your first payment, that 18% interest rate that they screw you with drops down immediately.
Absolutely.
Do not wait. There are people that can help if you find yourself struggling to pay your property taxes. Like, do not bury your head in the sand because it's very hard to fight it once it happens.
So I worked with the brothers from the mosque a couple of times, and we raised a significant amount of money to help individuals keep their homes. One gentleman, they had already split his property in half and sold half of it. So it's kind of like, she's absolutely right. So say something, because you'll never know who can help you.
Don't stay quiet.
What
Speak
is
up.
What's the information though? What is
again?
the information? You're saying to email people, but what's the information? What is the information that need to be? Who do you email?
I would probably, if I contacted the treasurer's office looking to make arrangements, I would CC the mayor. I CC every city councilor. I would CC you, Candejah. I would CC Rose Webster Smith. I would CC any attorney friends that I may have. I'd CC the NAACP. My list would be quite extensive. The more people you email, the more serious they take your request, and the more willing they are to work with you. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but you got to do something to put some safeguards in place. Go ahead, Yolanda.
I said I CC'd Maura Healey. I CC'd the Attorney General. I CC'd a slew of people from Boston. The governor, everything, every email that I had in my little list of database. And let me tell you, David Carter didn't send me nothing back. Nothing. I haven't heard nothing. Nobody came by my house. Nothing. It kept him on a minimum quietness.
Yep. Make your politicians do their job, which is to represent their constituents. Candejah, it's the same thing when you're sending out that email like we do in the organization with a public letter. It gets sent out to every politician, CEOs, AG's office, same thing.
And
this is for the public to know.
And FYI, everybody, all their emails are public. So you could Google any of these, your attorney general, everything. It's all public email. Just copy, paste, add it to the CC. Now, I want to bring up something that Candejah and Rose and us were talking about last night, and that's Chestnut Towers. I understand that they've been keeping that little baby quiet, and WWLP and Western Mass News and Mass Live hasn't even touched it on how they just been shoving people out of those apartments. Rose, tell us a little bit more what's going on with Chestnut Towers.
So first of all, you have to understand what an expiring use HUD property is. So those are mortgages where they are required for whether it's 30 years, 40 years to keep those properties affordable. And when they expire, then they can go to full market rate. So again, another little history lesson, right? When those towers were built, all three in that complex, was during a time they were market rate condos and they were for the white people. And then white flight happened. And now with the MGM coming in and the revitalization, we have companies coming in. So Skyview is their new name. It's no longer Chestnut Towers, it's Skyview Apartments. And they no longer have to have those affordable units. So they are going to renovate and turn those into market rate condos to attract the rich white people back to the cities and displace our elderly, our social security disabled people, anybody that's not in a what they call a workplace development, which means only working people in those buildings. Understand your rights and know that a form of discrimination is income discrimination. You are not allowed to be discriminated against because of your source of income. Do not let them push you out quietly, because that's what they are doing. Legal aid is tracking this. We are tracking this. We are watching and understand that your media is corporate owned. They're only going to give you the information they want to give you. Follow your independent media. Talk to people that are actually in the community. So these people are being evicted. It is the HUD mortgage has expired. They conveniently changed deeds into a new deed holder. And those are going to become market rate housing.
So that's not just the one on State Street. That's all three buildings on Dwight Extension and the one in the back.
Yes.
Wow. So while these families are still living in there now, so they're not going to be taking Section 8 housing, none of that. They're going to be moving people out slowly but surely.
Well, they're required to by law, but they're going to find a reason to evict you, whether it's for cause, for the dumbest reason.
Yeah, we should talk about how Breonna Taylor was evicted, that apartment number, even though it was the wrong apartment. This is how this happens. Okay, this all ties together, like racial justice, housing justice. Like they went there on a warrant that was prompted by developers. Okay, they were developing the area. They were pressuring people out of their homes. They went to the wrong home because they're pressuring people out of their homes for their investors. So the police are conducting a form of state violence by surveilling people in this area and then evicting them. Okay, they evict the most evictable people, except they went to a wrong apartment by accident. And they go in for no reason, right? They'll execute no-knock warrants to get people out of their homes. They will patrol repeatedly. And like, this is all part of the same structure that keeps us disempowered, homeless, and really, they target homes so that they can put people in prison or, get rid of them.
Jose, we understand we're behind enemy lines. Trust me. So
it ties in though, just exactly to what he said. Because think about where the hell is that satellite police office? It's police station, right? Right outside the Chestnut Towers garage on Dwight Street.
Oh yeah, the South End C3. Well, they use that money to open that office.
To evict people.
Even though no community members were allowed into that office, even though it's supposed to be a C3 South End C3 office for community members. We got to walk through, and it was like, oh wow, how beautiful! When's our next meeting? Nope, they ran it like their own little puppy mill in there.
It's a fancy name for another form of state violence.
It's absolutely crazy. Now,
so let me ask you guys, how do you, some people are hearing this for the first time. What would you suggest they do to fight this? How can people get involved in this?
stand up and start talking to your neighbors, right? We live in a society where they tell us, right, that we need to be independent. And I'm going to push back on that, because think about how many organisms does it take to make one human body? We are not independent creatures. We are interdependent on one another. Start talking to your neighbors. Organize a tenant union. There are banks and nonprofit banks that are willing to turn these into cooperative buildings where every family owns the unit they live in. Organize. Like I get it. We've been out in the community. We've been around for a long time, but we also know that Springfield has not had a tenant organization since the 70s. So we are about building trust. And we want to organize you to give you the tools to say, not in our house, not in our community. And we are going to stand up, we are going to fight back, and we are going to organize like hell to protect our community and our community members. We will no longer stand for people to be pushed out and displaced from communities they helped to build.
So my question is, so since we know that what happened with Chestnut Towers with the HUD money, is this going to affect any of the properties, like the motorcycle building, all those properties in the South End? Is it going to affect us 10 to 20 years from now? Are they going to be up to the chopping block as well?
Dude,
So,
sorry.
so those are actually not HUD properties. So they're just promising affordable units, right? But affordable for who? Who in the community actually understands what 30% AMI means, what 60% AMI means, what 80% AMI. AMI is area median income. So when we're talking about mixed use properties, be careful of the buzzwords. Hold people accountable. Hold city councilors accountable. If you're not seeing affordable units go up in those properties, start making calls. Right? Because you saw with Silver Brick, who got this huge tax credit, right? And what did we catch them doing? Filing off the color codes on the pipes and then repainting them to a higher grade, right? Hold people accountable. And that happens only when we are talking to our neighbors, right? People tell us, oh, don't talk about your pay, don't talk about this, don't talk about that, right? That's because they don't want you to know, because the longer they keep things quiet, people don't organize.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Whew.
And don't get it twisted. It's not just Springfield. I think there's something like 60 something expiring use HUD properties between Springfield, Holyoke, and Chicopee.
60.
Yeah, I think it's something like 60.
I think an element that might be missing in a lot of eviction is organizing with the community. Like, you should get in touch with everyone here. For example, find our Facebook, our email, our contact information, our phone number. Get in touch with us, because if we continue to accept evictions as a form of state violence, then the state is going to keep conducting them like there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, this is Daisy. You say hi to all my friends, Daisy. Unless we get out there and we're like, hey, listen, every time you come for these people, we're gonna be here. Okay, we're gonna be here. We're gonna come out and we're gonna block the road. You know, because again, it's not funny anymore.
Yes.
It's not funny anymore. The way that the police are operating, the way that the state is operating. How long are we gonna allow every eviction that is conducted that we allowed them to do is going to affect a family for another 20, 30, 40 years. Okay, every single eviction is going to affect someone for a long time. That's an act of violence against our communities, especially because most of us are Black or Hispanic or Latinx, and they already owe us a one. They already owe us that one they haven't paid. So every home that we let them take, is another 30 to 50 years of ancestral trauma that we allow them to create.
That's interesting. I've never heard anybody put it in that particular context in terms of
So
ancestral
can I?
trauma. I'm digging that. Yes.
So to enhance to my question, Jose, about that is this is the struggle that Springfield Noone Leaves had since the beginning is the implement. When we had actions, seeing anybody, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
And when we had actions in Springfield for the last 10 years, well, the first 5 years at least, it was 10 people from Springfield, and the rest was from out of from other cities that were building. When we did that march and did the civil disobedience at Bank of America, that was on Main Street. We shut because I led that march. We shut it down. 300 or better was there, and it was maybe a handful of Springfield. This is our city, the city of homes, and I've been sitting here. I know I'm from New York, but you adopted me, and I'm accepting the adoption. I love this city, okay? And I don't want to see us homeless. And I want everybody to understand, how do we get people active to understand that this is important? If it's not affecting you today, it's affecting you in general anyway. How do we let them know this? I'm looking at the thing, it's only a few people watching us live on Facebook. How do we get out there and let people know that, listen, this is not a game. This is our lives. How do we do this? Because I'm ready. They already know I'm on the front line for almost any and everything. But I cannot be by myself with this. And I mean, 5 people can do it. We made some things happen when the city decided to sue us. When I was one of the people that did the strongest anti-foreclosure ordinance in our country and got it implemented. I mean, and got it unanimously voted with the city council. And we appreciate that. But then the bank sued the city. And we had to get the city to back us up. Like, listen, we backed it up, and we was in the federal court for that, saying no. You're and they brought it all the way up to Boston, but it didn't matter though. It was the fact that we was out there, and it was only a handful of us. We need more people to understand that this is not a game, like you said, Jose. Yeah. It's not a game, but how do we implement it? We know the problem.
I think we have a couple networks now that we've established that we can just pray that enough people are watching now. And in the past, maybe we haven't been so connected, but now we have unprecedented attendance levels everywhere. And I think that especially with the ethnic study with 413, Stay Woke, Stay Active, Stephanie and Simbri are killing it down there. All the organizers are killing it. And we have the attention of a lot of people. There's a lot of allies, kicking in, and we need to plug in all together to make sure that our attendance is high, especially when it's important for housing, and I think that it's reasonable to be frustrated with events in the past that have had low attendance and they should have had high attendance. But now we have a lot of support. A lot of people are looking in the right direction, and we can try to organize all with each other and hope that enough people turn out. But I think that now we're at a time where people are more likely to turn out, especially because it's more important now than ever to defend our community.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now,
can I just add something? Candejah, I feel you on that. I think basically just across the board, we have to do a better job in terms of promoting the work that we do. When I promote my poetry events or jazz festivals, I promote like a mother brother to make sure that everybody and their mama knows. But when it comes down to the work that I do behind the scenes in the community, I just do it. We just do that work, and we don't promote it, which is one of the reasons why we have about 6 different broadcasts. Don't worry about the numbers, because by the end of the week, typically the shares are up to about 40, 50 shares, which means people are watching it and they're getting the information, they're sharing it to people's messengers, so people can go back and watch it. Our job is to make sure that we put this information out there any way we can. The beautiful thing about this pandemic, people are home, and there's nothing beautiful about the pandemic, but we have to exploit the fact that people are home and they're watching more media online than they are on the television sets. So I think the information is critical. And my thing is, if 5 new people are watching this and they hear you, Rose, and Jose, and they're saying, oh, I didn't know about Springfield Noone Leaves. I had been in the city I'm like you, I was adopted. I accepted the adoption papers as well. I'm not from here. But when you called and explained to me what it was, I was familiar because I had followed your case when you were staying, when you were fighting when you was fighting your eviction and everything. I remember that. So, but I was enlightened. I'm like, I thought I knew everything there was to know about Springfield until I was put in that situation. It was like, oh, Springfield Noone Leaves, really? Now I swear by it. If somebody asks, I'm like, did you call them? You need to. So I think if we can get 5 or 6 influencers on board and talking about Springfield Noone Leaves, or talking about, what's the name of your program again, Jose? Beat the Black Indigenous
Western Mass BIPOC Advocacy Council. It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is, man. So I think our job is to make sure that people are aware of all the resources that we have, because the problem is people aren't aware. We don't do any capacity mapping. We have no idea what resources are available until we find ourselves in a bind. And I think we have to get ahead of it and not behind it. Y'all do a brilliant job. I'm not saying no one knows. I'm saying the rest of us have to pitch in and make sure that we do due diligence to ensure that everybody is aware of this. Point blank.
Now,
Yes.
Noone Leaves helps people outside of Springfield as well, right?
Yeah, so
Yes, we do.
are based. Yeah, we're based here in Springfield, but we are fully aware that there are no other orgs in Western Mass whose sole focus is housing and economic justice. So we help anybody who calls us. We have members from Franklin County, the Berkshires, Hampshire County. All you have to do is reach out, and we will outreach to people, and I could take some of the ownership of not promoting, right? Because if it comes down to putting up a post on Facebook or being real and helping somebody in the community, I'm going to help the person in the community, and I'm going to let the social media slide. But we do have 2 Facebook accounts, Springfield Noone Leaves and Springfield NOL. You can message us on Facebook. There's many tenants who have been reaching out that way. And then we also have Twitter, which I think is also Springfield NOL, and Instagram is coming soon.
You know what, Rose? Don't even sweat the fact, again, if you got to choose between the work and promotion, I think people like myself, Yolanda, we just got to take this information. All we do is post all day. I'll promote anything and everything. Our job is to promote it, and we're going to start doing I'm going to step up and try and do a whole lot more, especially now that I'm free. I can do this.
Can I just say this though? Also, to give encouragement to people, I think my case might have been one of the rarest, because even though Noone Leaves was backing it up, I kind of took my fight a little bit on my own, because that second eviction that I had, I boldly told the lawyer to tell the bank to sell me back my house for $20,000 later for this eviction. And she went back to her client. Her client said yes. And then they turned around and said that they'll sell me the house back for $10,000. And I raised that money up and I got my house back paid in full. So anything's impossible. We're talking about a purchase of $129,000 down to whatever I did for the mortgage, down to $10,000. So don't say, no, I can't. Oh, it's not going to happen for me. If you stand up and look the enemy in the eye and tell them what you want, then that's what you going to get. I just have to say that.
Could I just say she gave me that speech when I was dealing with my problem? Do you remember that, Candejah?
Yes.
And I did just what you said.
So you are not the only one. So I can say that, I bought my house in Springfield at the height of the housing bubble for $160,000. In my case, it was in December of 2016, and I had just come back from my fifth trip of going to Washington, D.C. and presenting my case. I didn't even have a loan yet. And I just said to my attorney, I was like, offer them $72,000 for the house. And he looked at me and I was like, put that offer on the table. And so they came out and they did an appraisal. I had worked with a nonprofit bank to get financing, and they were like, okay, like we'll sell it to them for 80,000, and I got my house back for 100,000.
See, you just,
So
and
it
this is about
works.
opening your mouth. You open up your mouth and you say what you want. And then please, I mean, we have known to people to tell us at the last minute, like they were scared to open up their mails. And you could tell them, stop calling me until I can handle my business. Whatever you need to do, communicate what you have to communicate. And then definitely, please, because that's what people have told us at the last minute. And we're like, okay, we figure out another way. We turn every stone upside down until we find a way. Sometimes we might have to sit for a minute and ponder, but it doesn't matter. We don't forget about you, but you got to stay proactive. And listen, you need to go out there and knock on the door, tell your neighbor what's going on. There's times where they was about to evict somebody's do the foreclosure, the auction in front of their house, and they didn't even know they was coming. And we got there. It was only three of us, and I yelled real loud to wake up the whole neighborhood so that they could come out and protest with us. You understand? We need to scare the people that's out there trying to buy your house from up under you. But please do not feel that you are alone. That I'm going to keep stressing that, because that's the only way until y'all understand that you are not alone. Everybody is going through it some way or another.
Mm.
And during this pandemic, there are a lot of people who are out of work. There are a lot of small business owners who can't
Mm-hmm.
earn a living right now. And I know there are a lot of people going through. I think that's one of the reasons why Yolanda felt this conversation was really, really, really important to have.
Yes, thank you.
There are going to be people who are going through it right now. There are people tomorrow, they'll be afraid to go to the mailbox. And I tell you, that's the longest walk to the mailbox. And you get it and you're just like, God damn, again. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, you just need to know that there are resources available. I think if we do nothing else,
Mm-hmm.
we have to utilize our resources. When you look at those wealthy 1%, half of them are as dumb as Trump, but they utilize their resources. We have to utilize our resources. It's really that simple. Ego to the side, utilize your resources. So Candejah, tell them one more time, because I'm feeling, Victoria Roland says she's feeling your energy. I'm feeling your energy. Tell them one more time.
That you're not alone. You are not alone. I mean, I'm serious. Like, no one leaves. My house was foreclosed October 22nd, 2010. No one leaves didn't come out until a couple of days after. And the faith that I had, although I cried all night long when I knew they was coming, I woke up that morning and I said, I'm not going anywhere. And I meant that. I went and had breakfast while they was outside auctioning off my house. And that phone call came in and they told me that there's this company called Springfield, this organization called Springfield Noone Leaves. Come to their meeting. When I went to their first meeting, it wasn't for us yet. They was looking for people to canvas. I was canvassing. I was day one. I said, I'm for it. I'm with you and I believe in you. And this is the outcome of it. We have saved we still at 98% of people winning their houses back, or what? Is it 98 Rose?
Yeah, so
Or
we are at 98.9%
of
success
keeping people
rate,
their homes, of keeping them. You
and
understand? And that's go ahead. Go ahead.
we have secured the housing of over 491 homeowners in the city of Springfield, and understanding that when Candejah and myself both, when we went through foreclosure, our politicians looked at us and said, "There ain't nothing we could do for you. Pack up
Nothing.
your stuff and go." And here was this organization just starting out, and they were like, we don't know if this is gonna work, but are you down? Because we down to fight with you. And we were like, yep, I'm
And
down.
the members run it. Everybody that's running it have experienced this, so it's member based led. Just
Wow.
remember that. So everybody that's going through it, we go through it, we doing it together. Let's get it. And like somebody said, check your problems at the door. We let our sleeves down. We exercise how we feeling. People talking about how they had their pressure went up. They have high blood pressure, diabetes, everything. They was getting sick from all of this madness. And we had to sit there and give each other support. There was time where we didn't want to fight no more. And it was just a moment of let's just breathe. You have to go through anything. We're there. Yes, we do travel out because I traveled out to go to, I don't even remember what town. I'm not
Russell.
familiar with Massachusetts. Russell up there, just the only one from Springfield Noone Leaves, but I was there to help her protest with her family. But I don't know what happened, the end result to it, but just the support makes as a great relief for somebody. Don't be feeling like you're by yourself because you're not. We're here and we're going to listen, but you got to call us. You have to leave a message, your phone number, so we can call you back because we might not pick up that phone, but that does not mean that we're trying to ignore anybody. It's a lot of people that's a member, and you automatically become a member as soon as you call.
Mm. Now, question. Now, from what I hear, that I see that you guys went up to Russell to help. Now in Springfield, you can't do the barricades no more, right? Like if
Oh
you
yeah, we can.
don't go to the city of Springfield over there, you go to Ludlow now, right?
Uh, we go to Ludlow, but let's just say we have had some conversations with the sheriff, and we have a better understanding of what.
Oh, that's great. So
like
it's
it.
not
So
what you used to do.
we will like it doesn't matter who's doing the arresting. If it comes down to it, we are going to blockade and we are going to protect our community. And that is
Yes.
it. It doesn't matter if we're going to prison. It doesn't matter if we're going to Pearl Street. When it comes down to it, we are going to protect our own.
And
No
you know
one
what?
gets to come in.
That's as American as apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right to do that. And I
So
also want to say,
Organization will get arrested for you. Springfield, no one leaves.
it will pay your
Yes.
bail.
And pay
And
your
pay
bill.
the bell. And pay the bell. Yeah.
and
I
I know
love
we
that.
on this show we talk a lot about politics and we talk about the electoral process and people getting elected to office. And sometimes we have a lot of people who run just because they either A, want to enhance their resumes, B, they want to feel important. We really need, when I think about the activist organizers, we really need folks like that to run for office, take the politics out of the electoral process, and get people in who can really advocate from the inside. Because I'm going to tell you, from being on the inside, there really are no advocates. No
You mean
matter
like
who you
Candejah?
call. I'm sorry?
Like Candejah running for city council?
I can see that.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can't did. No, I did. I tried.
we just got to keep doing it because we're always saying we want people who are going to fight for the people. But the
Yeah.
real fighters are typically on the sidelines busting their asses to get the real work done. And I get that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of folks have completely dismissed the political process. It's never going to work if we have 13 city councilors and a mayor along the school board who just aren't paying attention to the people. And when situations like that are happening and you don't see a single elected official out there with you, it makes you ask the question, who's really with the people? It's one thing to issue a press statement or, or have a press conference. It's another one to join the barricade. It's another one to attend those meetings and say, okay, this is how we can help. It's another thing to really help people to navigate that process downtown at City Hall and navigate the process at Housing Court. If we're not doing that, then we have the wrong people in office. I don't give a damn who they are. There's a fight, there's fighting behind the lines, like there's fighting on the other side of it. We need more people to get involved. So we definitely need y'all to come back on and talk about the work that you're doing because people need a real platform when they're running. The hell with running just for the sake of running. It's not a popularity contest.
Yes.
When you say we will defend our own, that's shit. That's the fucking boss. Excuse my language. That's the Boston Tea Party. People were fighting to defend their own. I mean, they weren't defending their slaves, but I'm just simply saying we have a right in this country to defend our own folks, but we have a right to also represent them. I always felt like, electing a political candidate is like hiring a lawyer. Who the hell wants a lawyer that's not going to represent you? We keep voting for people who don't necessarily represent us. It's the same thing. We're paying for this service with our tax dollars. So we really need people from organizations like yours to get involved in this process. And I know Candejah has done it, but we got to keep doing it. We got to keep pressing on it. We got to really hold these people accountable. If somebody's running for office, they don't know what Springfield Noone Leaves is, then it's kind of like, why are they running?
Absolutely.
Right.
It kind of sounds like you should run, Daryl.
I know that Daryl will second this. When we say the people, we don't mean race, color, creed. We mean every elected official. I don't care if you're a Latino elected official, a Black Latino. It doesn't matter your race. If you're not there And we're talking about on non-electoral years. Don't just show up to Springfield Noone Leaves during an election year. That doesn't matter. What matters is your non-election year. Show up on non-election year, all right? For all 13 councilors and reps and senates and states and all that other. That's when it matters.
Matter of fact, don't show up, period. Jump in and help.
Right.
Yes.
Makes more sense. Terry Gibson says abolitionists in office transforming this system from the inside out. Brother, you're talking my language. And if my brother Max Parthis was watching from South Carolina, he would love, and I heard you say earlier, Jose, you're an abolitionist.
I've always been an abolitionist.
Okay. So you believe we're still slaves?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no way that the whole system has been designed, especially for minorities, for us to be in servitude. The prisons are just chattel slavery.
Can we not use the word minorities? We can say Black, Latino, and
you got it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
no, the system has been designed for BIPOC people to be subservient to white folks.
Right.
Okay. And the prisons, you just have to look at the statistics to see who's in there. Okay. And it's us. And it's for petty crimes.
When you say prisons, are you talking about the jobs, the college campus, the public school system? Which prison?
That's very funny. Well, yes, I'm not talking about the actual correctional facilities where they're taking our families and imprisoning them. And you know, everything the colonizers have installed specifically serve white people, right? The schools and universities, Harvard, University of Arizona, all the Southwestern universities, they were part of pushing Native Americans out of the land. They took their most sacred sites to build observatories and telescopes, like the highest mountain points. You know, you see that all over the country. So you're right. It's the prisons, it's the schools, it's the universities, it's jobs, it's employers, it's how people are employed. Okay. We really need.
Prisons are also equity, right? They're money.
Yeah, it's slavery. It's not equity, it's slavery.
The thing about it is, on each prisoner is about $55,000 a year, and that's just Massachusetts. We're not even talking about how much they make off of each prisoner in Texas. $55,000. We spend more on each individual prisoner to sit there and do nothing, not teach them, not educate them, not do anything, for them to come back out into society, coming back and leaving the same way they went in, with nothing.
And then going back in.
And then going back.
All that they're prepared to go back in.
Typically, the focus is always on the people who are locked up behind the walls. We have people who are locked up in front of the walls as well. So when you say abolitionist, my man Max Parthis talks about being an abolitionist. He talks about the prison system, and I'm with you on that. But I think I love the fact that you call yourself an abolitionist. I love what this brother over here is saying, because until we stop seeing ourselves as slaves, until we really break this system, not reform it, but break it and replace it, we'll all still be slaves. So I just want to highlight that. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. And I'm just hoping that we can all incorporate that term into our daily milieu. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and I just want to add just a little bit, going back to we the people. When we say we the people, we actually mean we the people, unlike our foundational documents, right? That only means land owning men, white land owning men, right? If you look at the preamble of the Constitution, there's not one single female pronoun, but there's 51 male pronouns. Right. So bringing it back to understand. And you're right. We're not trying to transform a system. We have to break the system, because right now what we're seeing in our communities is our Constitution actually working. It is doing it exactly what it was meant to do, which is to benefit white land owning men. Period. So we cannot transform a system that was never meant for us to navigate. We have to break it and change it and build the system we want that really means all the people.
I agree 100%. I agree.
100%.
So, and then I'm going to switch gears real quick. Candejah, I need you to tell us about chess angels as well. So we're going to flip the subject real quick. Chess Angels.
Okay, so the founder, I'm the co-founder, but the founder is Richard Johnson, Jr. He wanted, he just felt like, he didn't think he was a young man, a young black man at that. He didn't think he could make it thus this far, and he wanted to show that there's a lot of things that can be with to work with the youth and the young adults about using their art through their arts and of self-expression. And I went upon it because I know that I believe in that we through all the midst of our troubles, sometimes we can't afford to entertain ourselves with our children. So this is why we got Chess Angels promotion. Chess Angels just is out there. We would look for hidden talents, and then we would have a theme and put on a a show for the public. It was free for the public, and it was worth the talent that's out there is amazing, especially when it comes from Springfield. Right, I'm going to brag about Springfield, but the one thing that I can say is that since the COVID, it kind of pushed us back a little, so we focus on what's going on now, right now, like care packages for the elderly. We worked with what's it, Roosevelt, I'm sorry, Independent House and Costello houses, and we gave out care package there, and we brought forth a few organizations to like put into that so that to let them know that we're out there. We're going to start working on doing another care package for our youth, and we're going to try to go live and try to go streaming with live streaming with workshops with the youth and like with the health, our health and cooking and things like that for them. But mostly this to make awareness about even with housing, just what's going on that now and see the opinions of our children and our young adults is basically what we've been doing. It's a lot of work for us and we always looking for help, but we want to make sure that we are showing out there showing that we are not just for just regular entertainment, but to be out there in the fight to make sure we giving support. That's what we're all about. That makes sense.
Awesome. And I got to attend one of those events during the summer, and I thought it was amazing. I even got my shirt.
Oh, perfect. But the thing is, though, with the themes is even like we did Black History Month, but we
Mhm.
tell everybody it's your history because we don't want to, we want to make sure everybody understand that we want you to express yourself. We don't clip wings. We want you to, whatever our theme is, however you see fit. Somebody talked about stock. Somebody talked about they did paintings, singing, dancing, modeling, you name it. We appreciate everything that's out there. It's not always all about sorrow all the time. We know that there's a struggle out there, but we don't have to have our head down while we fight this struggle.
Well,
Absolutely.
you all run open mics.
I
Well, did
What
that
was the
really?
question? I think the connection is something.
Yeah, that's because we got this Trump and Biden thing going on, man, and these numbers got me stressing, got me
I,
stressing. I'm gonna
the
be
founder,
fall.
I was hoping.
It doesn't matter if Biden wins or if Trump wins, right? The movements still move on, and no matter which party that whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, you're still complicit in white supremacy. And the Democrats tend to hide it just a little bit better than the Republicans do. They're just way out there. But we got to be honest when we talk about politics. The two-party system is broken. How many people know that there's an indigenous candidate, Mark Charles?
Nobody.
I
Nobody,
think
right?
so.
Because he was blocked from Massachusetts. We're not allowed to vote for him. Traditionally, the Green Party didn't hear much from them this election either. And when I have to, correct my indigenous uncle and say, we can't, when he says we can't have socialism, Marxism, or communism on the reservation. And I was like, you do know that Marx studied indigenous cultures, right? And that we are born socialists before anybody even knew what that word was. But again, that message gets muddled because we're so entrapped in this two-party system. And
Right.
again, it's broken. Our system is broken, completely broken.
And I'm seeing, and the sad part is that I'm seeing my family from Mashpee trying to fight for their property. I see my family in Canada after being run down, taking 130,000 lobsters taken from them, thrown while the Canadian police just sat there and just let them take all their all their lobsters and shut off their lights and the cops.
Burn the warehouse.
Yep, at the warehouse. That's my family. You know, for them to lose all of that, and it's just heartbreaking. You know,
Can,
and I wish that I could be there fighting with them. I can't believe the Canadian police's excuse was there's too many of them, and that they couldn't do anything because there was too many of them.
No, let's be real. We're
so
savages. We're still savages on our own Turtle Island. We are not human. And every time the doctrine of discovery is named, which most people don't understand, all land title in this country is based off the doctrine of discovery, which said if you did not believe in Jesus Christ, then your lands were discoverable. So that was actually in my tribe's land claim, the Oneida versus the town of Shirley, in as recent as 2005 was cited as the first footnote. And you know who wrote that decision? Ruth Bader Ginsburger.
so can I just say this though? I get it that it hurts me when I hear about the history. I get that. But that does not change me. Like it took me a minute to realize that there was even a race, and everybody has differences. I didn't know. Only difference I knew is that whether you was a male or female, it doesn't matter. Just get up. uh, Through my history, the people that got knocked down in my history, in my background, they got back up. It didn't matter what you said. I don't care who was the oppressor. Didn't even know you exist. You don't exist to me because, like I said, you just tell them what you want, and that's just it. That's what I believe in. I said I'm going to get it, then I'm going to go get it. I don't care. All the obstacles can come my way. It's just like a rain. Are you going to stand there in the house while it's raining, or are you going to go outside with an umbrella, or just get wet? It doesn't matter as long as you get to A to B. Just push yourself. I get it. They did bad things. I'm tired. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm tired of hearing all the bad things everybody did. We mastered that. It's the same stories over and over again, different characters over and over again. What about the good stuff? What about the things that we can do for ourselves? As long as you're able to stand, whether you can stand with your heart, because I know some people don't have legs, if you can get up and move, if you can breathe the next day, go out there and do what you got to do for you and for those that need your help. If that's your mission, whatever it is, go for it. But okay, that you did a bad thing, your ancestors did a bad thing. So what? You don't pay my bills. You don't do anything for me. But as far as your politicians are concerned, I don't care who wins. You go and you look them dead in their face. This is what you need to be doing, and you're going to be doing it because I'm going to be a bug in your ear.
There it
That's how
is.
I feel. Yeah. Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
I wish. I wish I could forget that. I wish I could just forget and discard everything that has been done historically. If I could, I'd be such a happier person. My beard wouldn't have turned white by the time I was 40 years old. Been stressing about that stuff since middle school and high school. And it's hard to get over it and hard to move past it. I say kudos to you. I grew up in a little all-white. I didn't have the luxury of growing up in New York. I grew up in an all-white town down in Meriden, Connecticut. It was the Klan capital of New England. Where we were actually reminded of our black skin every day, all day, from principals to teachers to police officers to the employers. So you'll hit a certain age and you say, I'm going to move past it. So I say kudos to you. I wish I could. I'm looking at Jose's face. I think he wishes he could.
I get it. I'm hey.
But you know what?
Yeah, there's no way that's gonna happen.
No,
It's
no,
important to remember your history. Some stuff
wait.
people are just
Please,
finding out now, and
please
some stuff is
don't
just happening.
misunderstand what I'm saying.
Like the
Please do
Mi'kmaq
not
lobster raid.
misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not
Okay.
telling anybody to forget their history. Yes,
Nope,
you
I know.
need to know your history, but I'm saying that I hear more about the history and pointing the fingers on who did what. and less implementing on what we can do today. Today, what can we do today to make it better for us is what I have. And implementing it, not just saying what we can do, but just implement it. So I don't care if you are a racist person that's on as a president. I don't care. That has nothing to do with me about your opinion. Right now, you got to do for the people, and that's just it. Do your job. Your job does not say criteria. Oh, you're a racist. That's not your criteria on your job. You got to do your job, and if you can't do the job, step down and let somebody else take the place. Who do we have that's going to take that place? That's what I'm looking for.
I wish racist people would see the world the way you do. That would be beautiful. If they just came in and did their job without seeing anything or anybody else. When every time I see those, listen, I had to work with baby Trump for 12 years and trying to get him to see the other side without seeing race, without seeing gender and all that other stuff. It's been hell. When you up in there with them, they're elected to do a job. As far as they're concerned, they're doing the job that they believe they have to do, uphold the system that has been in existence since the 1600s. So I dig what you're saying, but that's another reason. Like, we don't have we need the political and economic power to put people in office that can get the job done. If I had a choice, I would have my mama as president because I think she did a hell of a job.
Means I have my mama too.
I'm just saying.
I believe that.
But, I feel like it's important because people don't even know what happened here on this land. They don't know who the Nipmuc people are. They don't know who the Pocahontas people are. They don't know who the Mohawk are. They don't know who the Massachusetts people are. They don't know. Okay, they don't know any of that stuff. And that's the same for the whole country, but that's the same for a lot of Puerto Ricans. A lot of Puerto Ricans don't know that they're indigenous, like a good chunk of the population. They have no idea. They think they're Puerto Rican, right? Like whatever that means, right? Whatever that mix is that has been assigned to us, right? And some of us don't have indigenous blood in them, but like we have to understand like that our history is actively suppressed. We're not even all caught up yet. Like most people here don't really even understand what has been taken from them. They don't understand how their families have been separated intentionally. They don't understand that it was for water and oil and for military surplus. They don't understand that they're being cordoned off so they can be policed. Okay, they don't understand redlining or that they'll never have a balanced city council because of redlining. They don't understand that their community will never be economically stable enough to have someone running. For example, like not never, but like it's set up so that we are never able to empower ourselves. And until we teach that, that's why you hear it so much. If we don't teach it, people don't know to be angry as all hell. They're not aware that they should probably be willing to set some fires. Okay, they don't know.
I think there has to be a balance. I don't think we can obsess with the past. I think we need. Let me just say this. I think we need to know our history. When it comes to African history, America, pre-America, got it. It helps me with my identity. And I think self-identification is critical, and I think it's important. I think in order to better understand systemic racism and all the racial equities that are involved, I think we need to know it. So I think there has to be a balance. I think we need to know where we came from in order to move forward. So I got you on that. I think what Candejah is saying is we also have to plan to move forward. What happened yesterday, we need to be familiar with it. Don't want to fall back into the same hole we fell in. But for tomorrow, we need to have a plan so that our army can move forward. Go ahead, Jose. I see you want to say something. You're rocking back and forth. Go ahead.
I have like a wobble stool, so I can like rock back and forth on it. But for tomorrow, I'm gonna be doing the same stuff I've been doing. I'm going out. I'm gonna go organize with my friends. I'm gonna see who the local houseless are that need assistance, and I'm going to do my best to raise funds to assist them. I'm going to keep advocating for measures. You have to do everything. So advocate for measures like H5018 that is supposed to block 100,000 incoming evictions. Write to all your local representatives consistently and organize. You need to organize demands, and then you need to block the streets and you need to block the ports. You need to organize first, and then you need to get out on the streets, whether it's for evictions or whether it's just to block traffic or it's just to stop corporations from getting their goods into port. You need to organize your demands and say, we don't want evictions. We don't want police brutality. We want money reinvested into social services now, into alternative systems now. We want money into healthcare, and we want a surplus basic income now. Okay? Like, not we're just going to be out here on the street because we're mad, but we want this and this and this. We want protection against evictions, and we want money.
Jose, who are we saying that to? Are we just saying?
So in Springfield, you would be saying it to Richard Neal. I'm not exactly sure who the representative is. Is Adam Gomez, every councilor, the mayor, the governor?
Adam Gomez is state senator.
Senator.
We have a number of state reps. So I'm saying, when you're telling people, and I'm only asking for clarification because people will be watching all through the week. When you say we have to go out there and tell them, I just need people to understand who the them are. And then the other is, do you just randomly walk out into the street and start protesting and telling people what you want?
For sure. Right. So I wouldn't coordinate with the government at all. Don't ask for no permits. Don't say we need this here and that there. Go onto the street and organize on your own. Block what you want to block. You have the right to protest. It's the most American thing you can do, right? But for justice, like, just don't organize with them. The people you want to contact are your local representatives. You want to contact your House representatives, and like Google will help you with that too. You want to contact your city councilors. You want to contact the mayor. You want to contact the governor.
But if we're not,
Ed Markey.
But if we're not cooperating with government, why are we calling them?
Well, you have to write to your elected representatives to let them know what you're blocking traffic for. Okay. And that you're not going to stop.
Okay.
I just have to say, I'm so stoked that you know H5018. That is the first bill I have ever helped her write in my entire life. And they screwed it up. But we're going to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, it just looks like a damage control. So that's what, I'm advocating for now.
So I will say that, history is important, right? And if we are not rooted in our history, then we are bound to repeat the same mistakes. So while, yes, we do need to move on from it, there's many people in this country that do not know that the doctrine of discovery and the papal bulls is what determines land claims in this country. Right? They do not understand that natives in this country, as of 15 years ago, are still not human. This is not the past. This is 15 years ago. We are still not human beings on our indigenous lands. And people don't understand. We were just talking about Puerto Ricans being indigenous. Mexicans are indigenous to this continent. There is no such thing as borders. The border is a fake line. It is a magical little line that we, our government loves to pretend. But I will say, now is the time. It doesn't really matter what happens tonight. People need to organize. We need to organize. We need to get into the streets, and we need to protect our communities.
Just only one thing. Like I said, I'm not knocking the knowing your history. You have to know it, but we also have to teach how to do stop underestimating the people mind. If we don't know something, then we're not going to understand what you're trying to tell us about our history. They need to know that they can stand up and do something for themselves and for others. They need to know this and to be taught that. Teach a man how to fish, not give them the fish. You can talk all day about history. Some people not into history. But if they learn that they're able to do something today, then they go, well, then why didn't it happen before? And then they learn, and then they want to listen. People want to listen once they can have an understanding that it's possible that things positive can be done for them and others. That's all I'm saying. And it's not that, and then you'll get more of a turnout when people understand that, yeah, I can do this because this is my skill. Once they learn their skills, because they don't know that they have a skill. Some people got hidden talent that they don't even know about. And we like to put, and I like to pull it out of them personally. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not knocking anything, but I'm going to stand to my ground about, yes, it's, we already know a lot of history. Don't underestimate people and their knowledge. That's all.
All right, so we have about 5 minutes left. If we want to start with the summaries and just closing thoughts, we've been on for about 40 minutes past our scheduled 1 hour. I'm enjoying this conversation. I think it's really, really, really informative. I love the difference in perspectives. Yolanda, you are on. You're muted. You have to unmute.
There you go. So thank you everybody for being on. We'll be back on next Tuesday. We are going to be talking about everything that impacts our community, our life, our world. Everything is that we'll be addressing. This is your independent media right here. We are not paid by anybody to tell us what to say and what not to say. We are bringing you to raw and honest. So always be paying attention. Pay attention to all the rest of Daryl's stuff that's coming on all days, all the week. Listen to everybody that's coming on. Thank you, Jose. Thank you, Candejah. Thank you, Rose. And thank you for anybody who's been on and supporting and coming on. Thank you, guys. Love you. And these women and this young man right here is right. No matter who wins, we are still here and we're still going to keep fighting. Nobody's going to tell us to sit down. Nobody's going to lock us in our house. We are not that. We are here. We're ready to fight and we're ready to get arrested with you. Well, I ain't trying to get arrested, but Rose is getting arrested with you. So be with us next Tuesday. See you on next Tuesday. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings.